And again, it comes back to what I said earlier about MS. When you hear those words brain tumor, it's everything you've learned and everything you've heard from society and culture and everything. It's the same with that word cancer. We're conditioned to react in certain ways by certain words. And the hope part is absolutely essential. If I may, I'm going to share with you, just to show, just to emphasize this, I want to just share this data quickly so that people can see it. So this comes from a survey, as it will show you here in a second. Whilst I just share, I'm going to put it onto that screen. So you can see that slide that says, do you see the slide? Hold on a second, make sure I'm sharing the right screen, because I might be sharing the wrong screen.
Yeah, over
Are
600.
you seeing one? Are you seeing one slide only?
One slide, yes.
Brilliant. Okay, so this is over 600 people who answered a survey for us, and actually it's gone up since then because we still get some answers coming through. And this was done during COVID. We asked people to tell us out of a long list, because we were doing some market research. It was for the development of an app which we now launched called Smart Tracker, and we wanted to know the top 18 emotion words that people would select from a long list, because we wanted to make sure we had the most popular emotion words available for people. But at the same time, we asked whether they'd had a life event, a trauma or whatever, and that could have been they experienced one directly, they witnessed one, they had a diagnosis, they had somebody who had a diagnosis, etc., etc. And so out of that, we ended up with about 400 plus people who we classified as having trauma, who were self-classified because they told us exactly what happened to them. And I can't share that because I tell you, there's some of that stuff is very powerful in terms of the nature of what happened. There were some abuses in there as well. So that splits to, just get this. Hold on, I've gone the wrong way, I think. Just a sec. There we go. So it splits between trauma and no trauma. Now, the top emotion word mentioned by both populations, and as I say, it was done during COVID, anxious. Not surprising, really, because it demonstrates in a way what conditioning in that sense can do because of the nature of what we were exposed to during that period. Now look at what happens. Look at the next emotion down for the between trauma and no trauma. Trauma, it's fatigue. No trauma, it's happy. Look at all the more positive emotion words that are also in those with no trauma. Right? Now, the next point is the emotional significance of anxiety. It was really interesting. In that population, 454 people had selected anxious. However, when I looked at that, I thought this is the scientist in me, I suppose. I started to think, well, what about the people who didn't select anxious? So I selected and I went through the whole data to look at what that looked like for people who did not select anxious. So those who are anxious, they're also worried, exhausted, overwhelmed, fatigued, depressed, lonely, sad, concerned, frightened, and frustrated, as in the top emotions. If you're not anxious, you're thankful, you're happy, you're hopeful, you're optimistic, you're enthusiastic, you're loved, you're thoughtful, you're confident, you're cheerful. Isn't that amazing? That demonstrates emotions for you and the significance. Now,
it's absolutely incredible, Neil.
You look at this though, the emotional significance of hope. When hopeful was selected in 264, but hopeful was not selected in 375. Now, when hopeful is selected, interestingly, anxious is still at the top, but you've got optimistic, thankful, happy, enthusiastic, and loved as still some positive emotions when hopeful. Now look what happens when you take hope away. Now, the point of that slide is linked to the paper that we published. If you are telling people difficult news and you take hope away from them, you are leaving them with these destructive emotions. Those destructive emotions leave you with nothing. That's why I'm so passionate about what I do. That's why I need to get this message out, because it's so important. Now look at this. After trauma, if you've got some hope, you've got some positivity in there. If you've not got any hope, and then no trauma. Look at the difference between when you got no trauma, you got hope. Look where anxious drops.
This was fascinating to see, especially from clinical point of view, but also from personal experience where just a friend's friend was diagnosed with cancer, unfortunately, almost stage 4. And just the last few weeks, she was sharing her experience in receiving this news with a cold-hearted, blunt, "This is your diagnosis." And her only wish was that her words, that they didn't take all my hope away, because I would love to fight this, but I'm devastated from how this news was delivered to me. She said she just had to take a few days just trying to reset her mind, not even about the stage 4 diagnosis, but about how she's going to take on the fight without the belief that she felt from her physicians. And so it's so powerful to see these slides. Thank you so much for doing them and for reminding us that we are human and that we are actually in the position of the most powerful moment of another human's life.